Great. So I will start like Phil Hall did in his podcast that I listened yesterday, just to present you, and then we will start, hoping for you that it would not be too much of an interview, but more a conversation, since you are into conversation AI. No,
Sounds good to me.
um, so, Dr. Iain McCowan, you're Director of AI at Dubber, former co-founder and CTO of Notive, and you lead AI at Dubber with over 20 years, 25 years even of experience in applied machine learning, speech and audio signal processing, research, project management, and commercialization. And we will talk about that particularly. And you hold a PhD from the Queensland University of Technology, public university in Brisbane, Australia. I just checked the map this morning, and it's really at the far east of Australia, in front of the beautiful Pacific, and with the Coral Sea, right, next to it, or
Yep. Yeah, correct. So it's in QUT is in Brisbane. I've lived on the Gold Coast most of my life, which is just south of Brisbane. So
yeah. So I did my homework yesterday. I watched the podcast with Phil Hall, and I read your article about the future of work, about conversation AI and so on. So I have many questions
I
for
did
you.
my homework too. I looked at Klewel's website and read some of your blogs. So
Thank you. But the point is not to talk about you today. Thanks, Ian. Um, I have many questions, but one of them is the context. How did you originally moved from Australia to Europe? Like 25 years ago, we met in at Idiap Research Institute. Did you land directly there, or did you go to Brittany in Lannion in before?
yeah,
Or-
so I guess rewind at high school on the Gold Coast in Australia. I had the good luck to go to a school that had a French immersion program. So we did all our subjects in French, which was kind of new here at the time. Um, and so I always wanted to travel to a French-speaking country. And so when I did my PhD, I had the opportunity to do an exchange or an internship. And so I got some contacts at France Telecom Research and Development in, as it was at the time, in Brittany, in Lannion. So yeah, I spent 6 months of my PhD in Lannion, and I just loved that from from the people I got to work with there were just very high level experts in the fields, microphone array and speech recognition, and they had great laboratories. And then on a personal side, I just met great friends and enjoyed the travel and the food and the language. And so I did 6 months there. And then when I finished my PhD, I wanted to find another opportunity in France. And I think I was at the ICASP in Turkey, and I saw a job posting for Idiap postdoc. And I knew Hervé Boulard through his papers on speech recognition. So I sent an email, and it was probably the easiest job application I've ever done. I think I just sent an email, and Hervé wrote back and said, "Yep, that's good." So then, before I knew it, I was getting visas and moving to Martigny.
Yeah, and you were the first out of there was Darren Moore, Mark, John. You were the first,
Yeah,
right? Moving.
yeah. At some point, we were a good crew. Actually, Mark was the first one.
Okay.
That.
Yeah,
Yeah,
independently.
it was a group. That was the group of Australians that were at
Exactly.
Idiap
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah.
Excellent. So that, yeah, I spent 2 years in Lannion, so it's funny. Yeah, as well as Ronan Colobert, of course, and even.
Yeah, there's a strong Brittany connection.
Excellent. So let's continue at Idiap. You worked extensively on microphone arrays, beamforming, and then you went back to Australia somehow, and you founded. Yeah, I go maybe directly, but you founded this company Dev Audio with a Microcone product. My first question about that is, what is the key moment, the key event that pushed you to actually start this new company?
Um, I think I've always wanted to. I think there's two types of research. Well, I'm generalizing. There's researchers who love the process and the research and the academic and teaching and all that, and then there's people probably like you and me who are just really frustrated inventors. We want to make stuff. And so I think as a researcher, I was always in that camp. And so, and being at Idiap, I was exposed to lots of applied projects where you got to work with companies and see the commercialization process. So it was always something I wanted to do. And then, so that was around 2008. I think I got to the point where when research gets to the point where you feel like I shouldn't be just writing experiments and papers anymore. I should just be making this. I don't, it, I should be able to make this as a real thing that people can use instead of just writing about it. So I think that was, the time was just right. The technology was at the point where I thought this should be a product now. And it was, you know, I think the real catalyst was my wife was pregnant with our first child. And I thought if I don't jump out now, I'll never do it. So I left my job at CSRO and started Dev Audio.
It's even more difficult when you have a new kid and starting a family and so on. So yeah.
Yeah.
um, Excellent. So yeah, about this Microcone and this Dev Audio, what were the main challenges to build a hardware company? I understand that maybe hardware is at the end 10% of it because of the software, even the iPhone app to control it, and then on the cloud probably the processing. But just about the hardware thing, was it a difficult thing for you to engineer and to sell and so on?
Yeah, that was the hardest part really of that first company because I'm not a hardware guy. As you know, I like software development, signal processing, machine learning, but not hardware. I've got electronics engineering degree, but it doesn't mean anything, as you know. Um, so yeah, but at the time, so what I wanted to do was basically make as we'd researched in these different projects with you, is an application for automatically taking notes for people in meetings, right? But I knew to do that at the time you needed hardware. We didn't have, the hardware out of the box with laptops and smartphones and systems that we've got today. You really needed bespoke hardware to do the job well, to be able to separate out who was speaking in a group and to get high quality speech with no noise so that you could get a good result from the transcription, which was not great at the time. So I knew that hardware was the key to get a good quality audio signal to start with, and also information on when different people were speaking. So I kind of needed it, but I didn't want to have to
Mm.
build it. And so yeah, it was quite hard in the end. I think I mean the hard thing about hardware compared to software, obviously, as a business is, all the complexities of having a physical thing. You need working capital to give someone a whole lot of cash so that they can go and produce your electronics. And then by the time you actually sell that and get money from customers, you've already got to be buying the new ones for the next customers. So it's a harder business than SaaS software for working capital, cash management. And then distribution, obviously distributing a physical thing was a challenge. So in there, yeah, so there were various challenges. I know at the start, what got me started was actually I did a project that Idiap helped me source with HES in Sion, and they made a prototype electronic design. I didn't have much money and I didn't have the expertise, and so HES in Sion really helped me get a prototype. And then once I had a prototype, that helped me get funding to get a next revision, and get things going. And so I think by the end of Dev Audio, after 6 years, we were, manufacturing in China, shipping to Australia, doing my Q&A, and then I'd distribute boxes to, I had distribution in Europe through the Apple Store online and distribution in America through Amazon. And so by the end of it, I'd learned all the pain and got to a reasonable point, but it was certainly harder than just doing SaaS
Yeah,
software.
that was my one of my questions about engineering, what the product from electronics from China, and then you manage the distribution in Europe and in the US through the Apple Store online. Did you have other distributors?
No, so I did direct, so people could buy direct, and I would package it up with FedEx and send it, or Apple Store. So there was a distributor. To get in Apple Store, you need to sign up with one of their approved distributors. So there was a
Mm,
distributor in the UK that did that, and then Amazon did that through the Amazon fulfillment
mm,
capability. So I think the hard thing at the time was when I started, I thought all I really need is I just needed 7 microphones coming in USB. That's all I needed.
yeah.
And when I started and I specified this and I got a quote, someone said they could do that for me for $20,000. So I thought, great, we'll get funding for that. We'll do this. And then when it actually came to it, it was 20,000 turned into 100,000. And actually at the time to do a 7 channel USB device, there weren't the drivers, so I had to do drivers as well. And these days it would be a lot easier, but back these
Mm,
days there are reference designs for different electronic devices for a
mm,
multi-channel USB with drivers and all that. But when
yeah.
I did it, there was really 1 channel and 2 channel USB audio devices, but not 7.
Yeah, and there was a lot of acoustic modeling thing, I guess, with the microcone. While now at Dubber, you don't work anymore with acoustic modeling. It's pure AI related to
Yeah.
the data. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would have seen that in your area to some extent as well, just the change from, like I said, back then you needed bespoke hardware, but now the meeting room has been distributed. We've all got a high quality microphone and camera, and
Hmm.
there's less need to focus on the hardware.
Yeah, excellent. And maybe some stuff are the money is taboo or confidential, but in terms of investment and what were the key steps before the acquisition? You proved that you built something you were able to distribute. At some point, uh, how long did you wait, or how did you come into the acquisition? Because you are one of the few from Idiap that got acquired after building a company. From the Comey, from there is a recap. Kileman was acquired by AMS.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about acquisition. Is it something painful? Was it smooth?
Um, so it's happened twice, I guess,
Yeah,
distinctly.
let's talk first about the first one. Yeah.
I think I think when you start a business, you've done this, right? You've got to know the type of business you are, and your strategy depends on you as a person and your goals and what you're looking for. I mean, in your case, you've built a sustainable business over, must be almost 20 years now, right? I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
So
18. Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty impressive. In my case, I always saw it as a commercialization of the technology. So it was, well, certainly the first case, right? It's taking a new technology that's at the end of research, but it's not yet, there's a gap to being used in a company in commercial setting, and no one ever does that. Research places can only take it so far, and companies expect it to be here. So who's going to do this bit? And so I think that's where I saw Dev Audio. Okay, I'll do this bit. And so I think my goal from the start was always build the technology, protect the technology with a patent, wrap it in a company structure, set it up for acquisition from the start, but obviously, you know, I think the steps you need to prove, you think I'll get it to here, and then it will be easy for someone to take, and then they want to see, oh, well, what's your cost of goods? How much can you manufacture this for? Oh, at scale. Okay, well, I've got to manufacture at scale now to get that, and distribution and the market fit, and there's always one more
Yeah,
step that you've got to take. Um, so that was kind of the learning there. But so I think along that journey, I was always showing different companies who were interested in the technology and were tracking the progress of it. So I think from the start, I set up with that strategy, and I was always building a network of possible acquirers, if you like, by
mm,
demonstrating it to different companies through the journey. Um, but at the end, I think, you know, the learning for me at the end was everyone's always going to say they're interested and they love it and it's great. But how do you make them take a decision? And
closing.
so, and so at some point with an advisor here in an innovation center on the Gold Coast, we just said, we're having a process. Here's a technology company. It's protected, patented. Um, did information memorandum and made a time process and said, we're selling this company. If
Mm,
you're interested, expressions of interest by this date, and then by this date, we'll provide you with more information, and then by this date, binding terms, etc. So we created a process which forced a decision.
yeah.
So then you quickly find 100 interested parties become actually 20, actually
Mm,
five, actually two, actually one. And
mm.
I think that was a key, but it wasn't a painful process. It was learning that at some point, if that's what you're trying to achieve, you need to force a decision timing on the other side.
Yeah, the importance of having uh, someone like an incubator to help is always, yeah, finding the good person to work with. Yeah, very interesting. Thanks for sharing. And Biamp is very famous in terms of in audio signal processing and hardware, right?
Yeah, they're an awesome company. They make, yeah, high quality audio visual installed equipment. Yeah.
And and then for each of the two companies you were acquired, you always worked for some times for them, right now with Dubber. How was it? Again, is it painful? Is it exciting?
I always saw that as part of the startup journey. So
Yeah, nice.
like my goal is to take a new technology. This is personally speaking, not necessarily the whole business for Notive, but to take a new technology and see it sold at scale to market, right? And so part of that journey is within a startup, but when you're acquired, part of it happens on the other side of the acquisition, right? So it's
Yeah.
still the same journey, but
Mm,
so for me at Dubber, at Notive, we got the technology and the team to a certain point. When we started at Notive doing this online meeting assistant, there was a lot of hard tech that we still had to solve, right? Just telling
mm,
who's speaking in a multi-person recording, you know, still isn't a solved problem, but certainly 6 years ago, um, it was quite hard still. We had to train our own models, develop our own system for that, and we're trying to find action items. The transcription quality was improving, but still not quite there. So there's a lot of hard tech that we still had to do. And so I think, you know, we we did that, build a good team, build a good product, build a good technology, protected it again with patents. And then at Dubber, it's really been about, okay, now how do we take that to a scaled market and
mm.
benefiting from Dubber's existing distribution network for that. So I
Yeah.
see it as part of the same journey, so it hasn't been painful. It was always part of the goal.
Yeah, it's a perfect transition for the company who also acquires you, that you stay for a long time so that yeah, they can benefit also. It's
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to realize, why does a business acquire
yeah,
another business?
yeah,
Sometimes it's for sales, sometimes it's for market share,
yeah,
sometimes it's just for the people,
yeah, yeah,
sometimes it's just for the tech.
yeah, yeah.
I think in my case, it's been a mix of the tech, the people, with Notive, some of the, well, and Microcone, some of the market positioning and early go-to-market, but
Mm.
it was clear that talent was part of the acquisition as well.
Yeah, and in your case, the patents are something very important to protect your technology and so on, right? Or at the end of the day, how much do you think it's really important to protect?
I think it's im I think yeah, it's important to have a strategy around your intellectual property. And what and so when you're a startup, and your startup is developing new technology, to me, what does a patent do for you? It creates an asset. It takes code, software, algorithms, and it creates a legal asset, right? It's a legal monopoly, a patent. So that helps you with funding so that, you're talking to investors. Oh, what's your competitive advantage? Oh, we've got a patent. Okay, good. Or grants. How do we know that you've got some new technology? We've got a patent. Ah, great. So it's just a simple thing there, and then it's a legal right that a company can acquire, which I think helps if you're a startup and you're looking for that outcome. Um, as an established company, it's a different, your strategy for having a patent will be different. What is it? Is it to protect against competition? Is it to, you know, I guess the big tech companies, it's almost like a, nuclear. Um, you're trying to build the biggest stockpile just to scare people off fighting you on patents. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
remember that.
realistic around them, but if you need a clear strategy, why are you doing it? I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
and
I
it can have
remember that.
value or it can not have value.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that Pierre Wellner at the time with Spiderphone, he told me at the end he sold the patents, and it was a good good strategy,
Yeah.
just selling the patents. Yeah, about investors, you said that one of the advisor, helped you to make the process. Um, were the investors involved in all the acquisition process, or um, was it smart money or just money? Or it's difficult, maybe it's taboo.
Two, two different ones. So Dev Audio, mostly I bootstrapped myself, um, with some grants and some help from some friends and, sweat equity. People who wrote my firmware and designed the hardware did it for shares. But I had some angel funding, but most and the Innovation Centre here on the Gold Coast had some equity, but mostly, so it wasn't as hard. They didn't have as big an involvement in the process. They all had to sign, which was um, which was more painful than it should have been. But yeah, the second time around, we were funded by venture capital, and so um, almost that was a almost it was an easier process because I think they're quite mature and they understand the process once we agreed the terms with them and I think they're used to going through these processes, so it was
Mm,
pretty seamless in terms of getting the investors to agree to the outcome. We
yeah.
made sure in negotiating it that the investors got what they needed as an outcome, as well as the founding team.
Hmm. And about the founding team, were you on your own with Dev Audio, or you were two or three?
Um, Dev Audio was me. I always wanted it to be two or three, but it's hard when you've got no money to convince someone to come and work for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so yeah, but I think in spirit, there are a lot of people that helped me. Um, you
So
know,
that means that you, in terms of marketing, in terms of sales, you mainly did it yourself with the help of the incubator, but mainly yourself, right?
yep. So I did. I remember going to one of these, startup CEO roundtables, and everyone's going around the table. I'm CEO of this. I'm CEO of this, and I said I'm CEO. I'm secretary. I'm the accounts. I'm the website guy. I'm the marketing, which everyone was, but. you know the reality because you've lived it for
Yeah.
a long time too. But yeah, and I enjoyed that. It, one thing I dabbled thought about at some point in my career was maybe doing an MBA to learn more about business and entrepreneurship. And then at some point I thought, well, I looked at the money and the time that you would have to invest to do that properly at a good MBA school. And I thought I may as well invest that money in myself and an idea. And through doing that, you learn. I've done courses through the way to learn formally as well, but
Hmm.
there's no better teacher than experience for,
Yeah.
understanding accounts and how to build a website, how to do marketing, how to do branding, and how to distribute, how to manufacture hardware overseas. Like, if you
Yeah.
just need to do it, you work out how to do it.
Last night I thought about um, the fact that you did those two companies. You did two MBAs, Ian. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great thing. Instead of investing 100,000 into MBA school, which is fine, it's good sometimes and so on, but
Yeah.
you did it yourself.
Yeah. I think different. Yeah. I think that would have been fun as well, but I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
certainly no better teacher than experience. I know when I
Uh,
started Dev Audio, I thought I want to jump out, create this company, and then you realize I need a how do I start a company? I don't know how to make a company. Oh, I
yeah.
guess I need a lawyer. How do I find a lawyer? Where do I find a lawyer? So just even those simple steps. I know
Yeah,
you've had good help through the ARC and incubation at Idiap, and fortunately, there's people out there who can help with these things. But
yeah,
every step is a learning thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. In the podcast with Phil Hall, you said that anywhere you said many things that I remember, but one thing is think globally, act locally, and wherever you are, you can find those incubation. Hopefully, maybe not everywhere, but
Yeah.
let's say in the West and so on. And you have the equivalent of the arc in where you are, and then you find a network and so on to build the company and to start yeah from scratch like I did also, and it can
I
work.
think when I started Dev Audio, I'd only been 2 years away from Idiap, and I'd seen the great structure you have there with the ARC and Idiap and applied research and strong network of companies. And so I always thought, if I can start in Australia, but it would be ideal to somehow migrate and become a Swiss Australian company and join forces somehow with that support. But it just wasn't possible. And then, like you say, I found there's actually equivalent
Mhm.
things locally nearby and plenty of people who can help me here. So,
Yeah, excellent. Let's move on. So you know, actually, I am at in an Idiap meeting room. You know,
I recognize it. I recognize. I remember we put those books there as visual clutter to make the audio,
yeah,
the video tasks more complex.
yeah. It's not exactly the same building and the same. Uh, anyway, um, yeah. So 20 years ago, you worked on the smart meeting room, and I was wondering to know from you. You, you remember we had Logitech pens, the whiteboard, and so on.
Yeah.
Uh, and what it is that is still valid today on the market, and what did not work. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that early smart meeting room, I think I know, Hervé Boulard and Steve Reynolds started these large meeting room research projects. And so we thought, oh, what are all the things we could do with meetings? What could we unwrap? And then that really started with, okay, what signals can we capture? So obviously microphone arrays, individual cameras, then wide cameras and pens and whiteboards and slide capture. Um, and then and then all those signals go into research and see what we could do with it. Um, so many great ideas came out of that. And if I look back now, you can see all of those, almost all of those things exist in commercial form now. I mean, I was just thinking today, I remember we had those little close-up cameras for each person, right? Underneath the microphone array. And we had them there so that we could get facial expression and gestures. Whereas the wide ones were more for tracking and position and things. And now I know on Zoom or Teams or whatever, if you do a thumb up, then it'll detect this and do these emojis and emoticons, whatever. So yeah, I think what's changed in that time, Bart, is it used to be a physical room where most people were in the room, right? And that still happens today, but now basically that meeting room has been distributed. And so my individual cameras on my laptop, there's actually a microphone array on this laptop just for me, you know. Um, we've each got individual screens and speakers and the speech recognition is built in, getting better and better. So yeah, I think the biggest change has been a lot of media, those meetings have been distributed basically now. Um, I know there still are physical and that's made some of the software technology like the meeting browser and the transcription and the capture easier in a sense because you've got an individual signal from each person. Whereas in a meeting room, it was all smooshed together.
Yeah,
And so the hard part
with a
was
lot of
separating.
brainstorming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's kind of made the problem easier from a signal processing perspective, right? You've separated out the people into their
Hmm.
own channels effectively.
Yeah. In the project, AMI project, augmented multi-party interaction, the second phase was with distance access, AMIDA.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it was not too much about individual joining, but more like connecting two meeting rooms at XC,
Yep.
for instance. But yeah, and at that time, I remember we talked quite a lot about summaries, how to sum up a meeting, not only transcription with procès verbal, the minutes, but the summary. And now it's amazing the technology with the summaries. Can you explain a little bit? Well, it's related with large language models, but how come that a machine can summarize that well? I really remember at school um, when I was 14 years old, the teacher asked us to summarize, and we were really bad. And the machine can do that so well. Okay, I understand that's so much data, but you need really good data. And I don't know
Yeah.
what's your take.
Yeah. I remember that was basically almost the hardest problem back back then, right? Is to take a no one wants to listen to a 1 hour meeting again. Maybe they'll listen to this one. I don't know. But you know, what's the short version? People just want to know what the short version is, and that was a hard problem to solve with the models that we had back then. And I think we were using things like simple text classifiers, support vector machines to pick out which sentences we should concatenate together to make a summary as an extractive summary. Abstractive summaries were just pretty rubbish back then, despite our best efforts. And yeah, so I think that, I mean, LLMs have been a, huge change in the world. The awareness of AI has really come on the back of the advance of LLMs in the last probably 4 or 5 years. Um, and there's hype around that, but as you and I know, there's some amazing reality around that too. And one of the things LLMs is awesome at is summarizing content. So if you're just asking an LLM an open-ended question, it'll give you a good answer. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. Um, it's good at generating text, obviously, but when you ground it to the context of, hey, here's a document or here's a conversation, give me a summary of that. It's amazing how well it does. I'm not the deepest machine learning expert, but I mean, the big change, as I understand it, really came from the attention mechanism in transformers. So they just got really good at understanding what parts of text or the signal that the model should pay more attention to or take consideration for context.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, at the time we were doing HMMs, right? So all the context you had was whatever the last word was or the accumulated state, whereas now these models can just immediately kind of look at context and understand where they should be paying attention. So I'm guessing through that, they must, that's probably helped them become really good at summarizing and finding out, okay, what are the key things from this large document.
And we will talk a little bit about that with what you do right now at Dubber. That's a good transition. But before that, yeah, sometimes when you summarize too much something, it's too general and it doesn't help much. And as I understand at Dubber, you try to detect the moments, the key moments in a conversation, because that's where, yeah, in a conversation, not everything is interesting, and there are key things. That's why I ask you in your journey, what was the key moment to build the new company, for instance, like key moments in life. Um, so the next, let me check my paper here. Just one thing about, you worked a lot about microphone arrays that were rounded, then the
Yep.
microcone, and now
Yep.
even here in this meeting room, I see a Logitech bar on top of the TV screen, which actually has multiple microphones, a microphone array, but it's
Yep.
linear. Uh,
Yep.
it's I guess it's because it's easier to install this than to put this in the middle of the room, even though it would be much better in terms of acoustic modeling, maybe.
Yep.
What's your point about the going from a rounded microphone array to a linear that it is installed in all meeting rooms worldwide now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, fundamentally, microphone is a geometrical problem, right? So, you know, um, the more microphones, the lower you can reduce the noise. The spacing between the microphones affects how close you can beam in on how, the width of your beam. And, and in a meeting room context, um, you want to be able to separate different voices or focusing on different people. So it's all a physical geometrical problem. For anything, the optimal microphone array is this big, huge grid of as many microphones as you can afford and as big as you can make the grid. So that's the optimal solution, but it's not a practical product. So I think I enjoyed at Biamp. I spent a lot of time on microphone array design. I mean, at Dev Audio, I focused particularly on so sorry, I should say to make a practical product, you need to understand what are the constraints that I'm going to design this for. What is the scenario that this particular microphone will be really good at? And so for Microcone, it was a small group of people, between 2 to 6 people sitting around a small table. So I designed a device for that scenario. And in that case, the optimum geometry is a small circular based geometry that's in the middle of the table. By being in the middle of the table, your angular separation between all your speakers is maximized, and also you're much closer to their mouths, so you get a higher signal to noise ratio to start with. But other scenarios, that's not necessarily the case. So a lot of huddle rooms now, you've got this situation where we've got these new big large screen TVs on the wall that we're watching the other end of the call. And so you've got people in a long table all looking this way. And I can tell you what, if you're looking this way, it's pointless having a great microphone here. I know you know this from recording conferences, right? So you've got to think, where is the mouth? Which way are they facing? And how are the people arranged in the room? So yeah, I think there's different. If you look at a good company that does this properly across a range of different meeting room sizes, from small huddle rooms or mobile recording up to large conference room, boardrooms, large conference rooms, etc. They offer a range of different form factors that are suitable for that, and then you design, you know, what microphone array arrangement do I need for this particular layout. I know at Biamp, we went from a tabletop small microphone to ceiling mounted version as well. We basically turned the microphone upside down and hung it from the ceiling effectively. And then we went to flat ones, and then they've also got a bar now that has, I think it's got, I don't know, 20, 20 or 30 microphones in it. Um, yeah, and all that's based on the signal processing code that came out of microcones. It was kind of fun being involved in thinking about different rooms and different form factors.
Does it work better with on the ceiling? Because in cinema they use the perche and then the microphone on top, and we say that the I don't know the smoke is going up, but the sound also, right? No, I don't know.
I mean, the optimal is to get it as close to the mouth as you can, right? So if you can hang it here,
Mm.
having a microphone here
It's perfect. Yeah.
is better than one down here or one up there. So,
Yeah.
but then pendant microphones people don't like. I think the reason a lot of them are on the ceiling now, so you see ceiling tile microphone arrays. I know the large Sennheiser and Shure have that form factor. It's for aesthetics of the room design and convenience. And up there, they can have a larger array with more microphones. If you put that on the table, the, I think the table's often good because it's close to the mouths than the ceiling, typically, because my head's closer to the table than the ceiling. But but what if I open my laptop and now the microphone's blocked? So I think there's all
Mm.
those practical reasons why
Mm.
on the ceiling you're more likely to get an unobstructed sound path
Mm.
without any physical thing in the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I've probably gone a bit deep there.
No, no, it's good. And then you founded this second company, Notive. Um, how long did you work before acquisition at Notive?
Yeah, so Notive, so I was co-founder with Chris Rathke. He was CEO, I was CTO. So from founding to acquisition was about 3 years.
Yeah, very relatively short, I would say. And then you had a more like a CTO role, not doing too much everything, or still.
Yeah, I think when you're two co-founders, right, you complement each other. So Chris had strengths, I had strengths, and we worked off
Mhm.
each other. So he was actually a very good, I mean, he is a very good technical engineer. So he did a lot of CTO. I
Mm.
helped with the business because I'd done dev audio before.
Mhm.
So I think whatever you need to do, you do, I think. So
Yeah. And so it was very different from dev audio, I guess, or um, y- can you tell a little bit about these 3 years before acquisition?
yeah, it was very different. I think with dev audio, it was great, but a lot of it was by myself. I mean, I worked with contractors and people helping me and things, but so I thought if I do another company, I want to do it with other people. And so I had a call one day from this guy I never met before. It turned out to be Chris, and he said, "Oh, well, doing this startup, doing basically a AI meeting assistant for meetings." And so I thought, great, here's someone I could do this with who's got the same vision that I've got, but it wouldn't be by myself. And he already had another member of the team when I joined, or two others. And then we got VC funding, so we were able to hire some engineers and some people to help on customer success and marketing. So it was very different. One, because I had co-founders or founding team from the start, wasn't starting with just me. And two, because we got venture funding, then that makes everything go faster.
Yeah. And the communication with the VCs, how do you manage expectations? Was it again smooth, or it's always difficult? I don't know.
We had good VCs. They're all early stage. I mean, we had a pre-seed round and a
In
seed round.
Australia?
In us, it's complicated. In Australia, yeah, we structured as a US company, top hat structure. So a US company that owned an Australian company. So we operated in Australia, but we had a US company. And in our seed round, we got our lead investor was a US based company, VC. So we had both. Yeah, that was complicated.
You had to travel regularly, because we say that it's important to be close to the investors. I don't know.
Um, Actually, around the second investment round was around COVID, so no, we didn't.
Mm,
But yeah, we early on we did a number of trips over to the US because that's obviously the key market. But,
mhm,
yeah, I think the world's changed since that was 2018. Back then, well, there's a lot more. There still is a lot more investment capital in the US for startups, right?
mhm, yeah, yeah,
And there wasn't as much in Australia, but since then, I think the Australian VC scene has grown a lot. So if we were to do it again now, I think we would just probably start Australian only and build out from there.
yeah. And
Um,
and the data you are working with at Dubber are like recording of conversations, as I understand, of phone conversations and so on. There is no more microphones over there, right? It's
no, I mean they're built into our phones now. Every
exactly.
phone you use has a microphone array.
Hmm.
It's been one of the big things over the last 25 years for me. When I started looking at microphone arrays, people would think, why would I spend money on two microphones or four microphones or eight microphones? Whereas now every device we've got has more than one microphone built
Hmm.
into it. So
Yeah,
that's
we're
been
not conscious about that actually. We know that there are like multiple cameras, but the microphones is not clear, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Dubber our business. So Dubber, I forget when it was founded. I should know, but it was based as a call recording company, so compliant call recording, essentially
Hmm.
for companies that need to capture their phone conversations to meet regulatory requirements. So like in, finance industries or insurance or just companies that need to record their conversations. So that was the genesis of the company. And from day one, I guess the innovation of Dubber itself was being cloud native from day one. So being deployed in the cloud and also I guess the way we access the calls at Dubber is by being connected into the telecommunications network. So Dubber's platform is connected into, I don't know actually whether it's into Swisscom. I should check. But Telefonica or Orange or
Yeah.
you know
AT&T.
Vodafone or AT&T or, you know, in Australia, Telstra and Optus. So we connect in there, and then their business customers who want to get their calls recorded can just enable call recording, and that functions through Dubber's platform in the cloud. So we've got a fully compliant, secure recording platform, and I think we've got over 200 partner networks around the world that we're connected into. And that covers not just traditional telephony, but now it's into Teams and Zoom and WebEx calling. And so we can capture however you have a call, it can be captured through your service provider, whoever's providing you that service. Dubber connects in there and we can capture that conversation. And so that's the base of the business. And so when they acquired Notive, it was really about taking that compliant call recording and adding on deep AI insights. So what's some more value that we can get from that? Yeah.
And people do not need to, in terms of compliance, to accept to be recorded? It's
Yeah, so there's a whole complexity to that. Depends on the
mm,
company and the jurisdiction they're in. There's a lot of regulation that we comply with there. So yeah, there's in-call notices. You
mhm,
know, when you call a company and they say this call is being recorded. Um, yeah, so that's all part of it.
mhm. Yeah. And so you have a big team with you, I guess, about AI. Um, are you more into research within the company? Do you feel that you work like 3, 5 years ahead, or like one, it's like more project development 1 year before releasing the new version?
We're probably 3 months ahead now, I think.
Okay.
So we're very close to product. So everything we do needs to have an immediate product outcome, is where we're at. Over time, it'd be great to be building up that capacity for longer horizon, but there's so much, with the capabilities that all this stuff that's just become all the things we researched 25 years ago that were not quite possible or a little bit possible.
Mhm,
Now you can get 95% accurate transcription in any language. You can get a LLM model to summarize your conversation in whatever size you want. You can classify different things quite accurately. So there's understand the sentiment of a conversation, understand how a sales conversation is going, understand who the customer is and who's the agent. And there's so much you can do right now, quite fast, that has real value in a product that I think we're so busy delivering value to product that we haven't got the time to think about longer term at the moment.
and is it a big question for you to use an existing system when you see what Amazon is doing and so on, rather than developing on your own? Is it a big question to choose?
Um, I think so. We've built our own AI platform. So it started at Notive, and then moving into Dubber, we've generalized that. So we have our own AI platform, and that handles all the, you can imagine a call comes in, and you need to orchestrate a workflow of a range of different things that need to happen to this call. I'm sure it's the same for you with conferencing, right? There's a pipeline of things you need to do. What is the media? How do you convert it? What language is it in? Who are the speakers? How do you transcribe it? And then once you've got transcription, okay, find the summary or find what are the key moments on this call. So there's all these activities, if you like, AI activities so we built an AI platform that orchestrates a flexible sequence of AI activities that happen when a call is recorded and then pushes the output into our product. And so that we built in-house. I mean, where we can, we use tools that help
Hmm.
um, do that. And then individual AI activities, it really depends on what's the best solution for this. So some we build in-house ourselves because we can and it's cheaper. But other ones, you'd be mad not to use an LLM from,
Yeah.
whether it's using Claude or using Amazon Bedrock or Azure OpenAI or
Hmm.
there's Google Gemini. You'd be mad not to use the best one. The kind of the costs and the capabilities and the range of options is just growing.
And
All
and in terms of general architecture or infrastructure of your AI solution, you build it yourself or do you use an existing infrastructure?
So the Dubber platform generally is hosted in mostly AWS, also some Azure. So obviously because with compliant call recording, we have requirements around data sovereignty. So if I'm a customer in Australia, particularly a government customer, I want all my data and processing to happen in Australia. And same for America, UK, Europe, etc. Europe, there's GDPR, so we've got to, there's all these regulations. So we have we're cloud deployed, but we host in, you know, over half a dozen regions around the
Hmm.
world so that we can meet all those requirements. So we develop the software and then deploy it in in mostly Amazon cloud.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, same for us, but at another scale. Um, Excellent. Well, thanks a lot. It's almost an hour now of conversation with you, Ian. Thanks a lot for your time. Um, what's next for you? Are you rich and then you don't need to work anymore with your?
I think I'd be bored. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
are
enjoying what
passionate
we're doing.
about this.
I think I'm enjoying what we're doing now at Dubba. So we're really, I think there's so much more that can do with all these new capabilities, right? To actually, I guess you sell to a business, they're not interested in buying AI. They want to improve their sales or they want to understand their customer. So I think what we're focused on is taking their calls and delivering real insights that can help their business. So understanding what a customer's complaining about and how are your staff resolving those complaints, or what are, your sales? Are people offering sales on a regular basis? Are they converting to appointments? So looking for those key moments so that people can understand how their sales are functioning, or satisfaction. What do customers love about your business? And I think in the past, the only way to do a lot of this stuff was surveys. People send
Mhm.
out surveys to customers, or they maybe sample a couple of calls. Um, but now with the technology, we can give a business insight across 100% of all the customer conversations about what their customers are all actually saying. We can find a highlight where a customer was ecstatic about this great customer service they've got. We can pull that out, highlight it, send an alert about it, and the manager can actually link back and listen to the conversation in the context. And so I think, yeah, I'm just enjoying seeing all these ideas actually turn into valuable business outcomes.
Yeah, it makes me think of big companies monitoring what's going on social media about them, but it's another topic. But
Yeah,
yeah, I read a bit about sales and the experts in cold calls. They always say to record, and then in order to improve. And
yeah,
actually, for them, it would be a very good product. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think, and then, I guess in my role, I get to work with a few of those companies that are adopting it, and when you see the benefit it gives their business, that's satisfying.
Yeah, and I guess it's business of a certain size that you are talking to, right? Yeah, where they have like 1,000 sales, or and then
Um, it's there's a range. There's
yeah,
large enterprise,
yeah,
but I think really we're trying to do these, well, we are making these out of box insights products, right? So any business can get immediate value out of the box by just turning this on to understand their sales or their customer satisfaction or customer complaints. So trying to make these out of the box, and that suits more mid-market
hmm,
businesses. So they don't necessarily have the money to develop their own custom analytics and
yeah,
whatnot. They're big enough that they need something, but they're not so big that they want
hmm.
to do their own. So really mid-market, I think, is where we're seeing a lot of uptake.
And when you find a new customer and propose something somehow customized, as I understand it, to for them, is isn't it too much work to try to customize, and then you spend too much time, and then it's not difficult to scale? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, which is why. So I think our focus is in there's so much value you can do for a large number of businesses
Mm,
that have the same, they've all got the same problems, right? And the
mhm.
same things they need. So there's so much to be gained there before you start going into these custom things.
Yeah.
So I think there's certainly a place for developing custom for the large enterprise, but
Hmm.
like you say, it's time
Yeah.
and risk and things. So that
Hmm.
yeah.
And for the call centers, do you target the call centers in general, or it's different
It
market.
hasn't traditionally been our market, so
Okay.
yeah, more just directly into businesses that want to understand. I think when we did the smart meeting room and you look at some of the tools on the market like Zoom recording or Teams and things, a lot of them are focused on internal meetings, productivity of internal teams. But I really believe that the most valuable conversations a business has are with its customer. It's the external conversations. Many of them are one-on-one. It's you talking to your customer. That's the most valuable conversation to you, not your team meeting that you have every day for your stand-up. And so they're the conversations that we're focused on, and how can we deliver value, unlock value from those customer
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Maybe I will end like Phil Hall. Is there any question I didn't ask ask you? No, no, but
I think with Phil Hall, I flipped it and I asked him questions.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. But
I think
it,
I I'll do the same thing. I think chapeau. You've started a company and it's been a sustainable company for what did you say, 18 years or
18 years,
something?
but nothing was planned.
So what for you has been the biggest challenge or the biggest learning?
Yeah, we would need another hour. No, but I'm not very good in French. We say réparti to quickly answer that. I prefer to ask the questions, but um, so it's in French we say rien n'est acquis. It's never finished, and every day there is something to improve and so on. And
Yeah,
you talked in your previous podcast about up and downs, and you need to manage that, uh, especially the downs during in 2021, where when you were acquired by Dubber, we had our best year ever,
yeah,
and and then it's all about being close to customers. Actually, it goes back to the oral conclusion,
yeah,
the importance of conversation with customers. And I say that, but I don't do it enough. So, and yeah, what was difficult, it was really a step-by-step thing for me. So I feel that there was not a big challenges, but obviously running a business is about human connections and so on. And so
yeah,
I was not trained as HR. I was not trained as a business guy. So I learn everything and I do how I can. Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm also surprised that after 18 years it's still there. But we are still ambitious. We still have ambition, and that
yeah,
maybe that's what keeps the the fuel, maybe.
yeah. Oh, I think it's impressive I think once you've run a business, whatever size and scale, I think you have respect for anyone who does it. So
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Really a pleasure to talk to you. And it's funny how you during your career you cycle a little bit from startup to joining a larger company, then going back to academia, going back to as a professor, and it's interesting. Yeah,
yeah, I think feel like I've lived between research and reality, taking new
yeah,
tech and taking it to people actually using it. I think
yeah. And
that's the zone that I enjoy being in.
and you talked about the gap, between research and the first product. And I remember that the first time I went to the US in Boston, and I think I remember a VC saying that we don't want to do pioneering work. Pioneering, and then it's like the US people, pioneering is really hard. And it looks like at Devodio, you did the pioneering work of bridging the gap. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. was certainly longer and harder than I thought. I was very naive. It's good to
You
be
need
naive when
you
you're
need to be
young.
naive.
Otherwise, you wouldn't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Oh well, it's been a
Okay.
pleasure to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Stay.
Thank you, and have a good evening in in Brisbane. And here the day starts with the raining of Martini after 3 weeks of very sunny, too warm weather. Now it's
Yeah.
raining, so it's good.
Oh, enjoy your day.
Yeah.
I'm off to cook dinner now. So
Okay, thank you. Take care with your family. Bye bye, Ian.
thanks, see you, man.
Bye.
Okay.